What is up, guys? Welcome into episode number 73 of the Loose Sports Talk podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Hannaford, joined tonight by the one and only Brandon Big Papi Gallegos. Brandon, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for joining. How you doing on this lovely evening?
I am doing well. Ethan, as you know, I spent my Tuesday, like everybody else does, at a wedding. That's right, a
Oh,
Tuesday
a
matinee
wedding.
wedding. Good old 12:15 matinee wedding time today on a Tuesday. So other than that, doing well. It was a good time. But yeah, what can I say? I broke out the suit. I was looking a little hippie today. Went with the hipster look.
Hippie.
Yeah, I didn't go with the suit. I went with the more loose button-up, untucked look. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. Well, I mean, for all we know, Tuesday weddings, that's normal.
Could be. Yeah, could be. Yeah, I didn't know.
I don't have much experience in that area, but you being a college pastor, this completely checks out being at a Tuesday wedding, marrying some broke college kids.
Yeah, I mean, the church, it's cheaper during the week. Newsflash, those who need, cheaper during the week.
Amen to that. Anything to get married, I guess. Well, Brandon, it's going to be a productive episode. The Cardinals are actually playing better baseball despite trading off talent at the deadline. Explain the math on that one to me. We're going to dive into it, what is working for the Cards, and all of a sudden, due to the scuffling New York Mets, St. Louis just 3 games back. Yes, 3 in the
Stop
wild
it,
card.
Ethan.
You just cannot make it up. You can't. So we're going to be discussing that and much more later in the episode. TJ Williamson is going to be joining us. He is our football correspondent, aficionado. I don't know. We'll have to figure out what he wants to be called. I haven't gotten that far with it yet, but we're going to go ahead and dive into our NFL 2025 season preview, some projections as well. Looking forward to that conversation. First time TJ will be on the podcast. And as always, we're super excited to be partnered up here with STL Sports Central, the 4th episode here on STL Sports Central's YouTube page. You can watch the episodes here on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe as well. Or you can go and listen to them on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. All the options out there for you. And as always, all of the content here on STL Sports Central is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Brandon, before we go ahead and take this pause and transition into Cardinals, can I just get a general thought as to 2025 Cardinal baseball and just how much of a roller coaster it has been?
What was it? Episode 71, episode 70 when we started here on STL Sports Central going live. And what was that? It was the Rebuilding Redbirds. Was that the title of
Yeah,
that?
that checks out.
And here we are at episode 73 talking about a playoff run for the Cardinals. I would say the roller coaster has been one that I didn't really want to ride. I've been on a lot of roller coasters that I love. This one I hate. It's emotionally taxing. I've had to pull the Cardinals uniform back out of the closet and dust it off, put it back on. All of a sudden, I'm hopping back on. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to talk about this more, whether we actually believe it or not. But as far as man, how am I feeling right now? Emotionally all over the place. But I guess that's what you sign up for as a baseball fan in a 162 game season.
It is a marathon, not a sprint. And it's felt like the Cardinals, it's been a lot of sprinting and a lot of walking because of cramps at times. So I think that's a pretty good way to describe the
Sure.
2025 season for the Cardinals. But Brandon, it sounds, roller coaster sounds like it's getting the best of you. Get some Tums, man. Take care of that tum, man.
Might
You know
need
how
to.
it goes.
Might need to.
You know how it goes. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take a quick pause. When we return, gonna dive into some more Cards talk. Where are the Cardinals at right now? What does the rest of the year look like? And is a playoff run a realistic thing that could happen for St. Louis in the final 6 weeks of the season? More to come right here on the Loose Sports Talk podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lou Sports Talk podcast. Thank you for watching. Those listening, welcome back. If you're missing any of this, here's what I just encourage you. If you haven't seen the video section of this podcast, go check us out on YouTube at STL Sports Central. It is a fun time. You get to see our faces, which I don't know if you remember. I mean, for years we would make jokes about, thank goodness nobody can see us. And now here we are in 2025, actually giving some people a view, and it will let you down, but it does change the experience of the show. Anyways, let's talk some baseball. Like you said, after selling at the deadline, the Cardinals lost 2 of 3 against the San Diego Padres. And you're thinking, oh no, here we go, Ethan. The painstaking post-deadline sprint. Man, this one's going to hurt. So you go into LA, you're licking your wounds a little bit, and you steal 2 of 3. And you're thinking, man, okay, the Dodgers, they're hurt. The San Diego is catching up to them. Maybe we just caught them while they're down. And then you get a weekend series against Chicago and you take 2 of 3. And you're like, okay, I don't mind this. Then on Monday night, you have a thriller with Brendan Donovan coming off the bench, getting a late game triple and late game heroics, and you sneak that one out 3-2 against the Rockies on Monday night. So now you sit here and you won 5 of 7. And in the baseball world, what that means is click, click. You are back on the roller coaster. And here's the thing. As far as the Central goes, that's been a wash for a while, but the wild card now, you're only 3.5 back, or 3 back, excuse me. You're 61 and 59, and just like that, you're back in the mix. Ethan, you look at this thing so far. Obviously, we can touch on it. The young bullpen, we've liked what we've seen. They've stepped up. I mean, you lose a superstar at one point, what I would say, and a guy like Ryan Helsley in the back of your bullpen, and you look at the lineup, you're still playing musical chairs-ish, right, with that outfield. And then Nolan Arenado, who I don't care what kind of season he's having, you lose a veteran like that, it hurts. It still stings. You like to see him in your lineup, no matter how hard it's been this season. He's a veteran guy, and so you wonder how the team's going to respond. Well, they've responded well, and they're actually, you look at this thing, you look at the remaining schedule, and you're going, do we have a chance? So, Ethan, I'll ask you, are you buying this? Do we have a chance?
You know, it's a small sample size. It's a small sample size. 5 of 7 is encouraging, but it's more so the way in which they won those first 4 against 2 really good teams. We know the pedigree of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. Even on a bad day where Mookie Betts is struggling for an extended period of time, I'll take him over anyone on the St. Louis Cardinals roster. So, and they have talent beyond that as well, both on the pitching side and on in the lineup, even when banged up. So the Cardinals able to win a couple of games in that series in late inning efforts, come from behind efforts even, I thought was extremely impressive. And then to do it against the Cubs at home, you know, Yadier Molina returns for a couple of games to the dugout. Thought Ollie Marmol handled that situation like a pro's pro. I commend him for it. And you talk about in a time where things are starting to move in the right direction, what seeing a guy like that in your dugout, taking time out of his life to say, I want to invest into these guys and I have interest. As a young guy, talk about something that can fire you up. I mean, there's already enough motivation in 2025 for the rest of the year, right? I mean, it's opportunity galore for these youngsters. It's figure out who's going to be a part of the core in 2026 and beyond. So there's already motivation, but adding fuel to the fire. So loved Yadier Molina being there. Sounds like he's going to try to meet up with the team in Miami in a couple of weeks again. And we'll see if he ends up back at the ballpark at any other point this season. It wouldn't surprise me. I'll tell you that much. So a fun little side piece, right? That became most definitely a topic over the weekend at the ballpark. But the Cardinals take 2 out of 3. one of them being on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, where you get big contributions from Nolan Gorman, from Sonny Gray, who responded very well after a couple of really ugly starts. His two starts his one against the Dodgers and the Cubs, both very good. You need that Sonny Gray, right? If you are going to start drinking any sort of Kool-Aid, you need Sonny Gray to be a number one. And let's be quite honest, in this time, of the past month prior, where the Cardinal rotation had been absolutely terrible, Sonny Gray wasn't innocent. Sonny Gray was not innocent by any means. He had really had his struggles in that mix as well. As ERA had crept up to 4.3, I believe I saw it get as high as. That's your number one. How are you going to have success if your number one starter has a 4.3 ERA? You're not. And I know he struggles pitching in the heat. The sweat is an issue for him, but at some point you have to perform, right? So for Sonny Gray to be able to settle down these last couple of outings, be that stopgap guy, they always say momentum's only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. So that being one definitely encouraging sign for the Cardinals is the pitching has been better of late. But when you look at what this team did at the trade deadline, Brandon, 3 moves made. Ryan Helsley, Phil Maton, and Steven Matz all traded away. You knew there was going to be a lot of opportunity for this bullpen. And boy, has there been opportunity. And guys are taking advantage of it. I don't know if anyone could have expected, albeit a small sample size, for Riley O'Brien, Matt Swanson, Kyle Leahy to all take advantage of the opportunity like they have. JoJo Romero has also been very good. He's been very good all season. And Leahy's been solid all year as well, but I think he's taken it even a further notch. You look at this new core that it feels like the Cardinals are moving in a direction of trying to build, at least for the remainder of 2025. Boy, it feels like they have something here. These guys are not getting scared by any situation. These have been close, hard-fought games where you're having to rely on these bullpen pieces on certain nights to get you through, to close out games, to finish things up. And they've all done a very good job. I've been very impressed by this new young core of Cardinal bullpen pitchers that they've been able to provide. And the numbers go beyond the trade deadline. But just looking at since the deadline, Riley O'Brien in 4 appearances has allowed 1 earned run on 1 hit. Who else am I scrolling through looking at here? JoJo Romero in 5 appearances, a 1.59 ERA. Matt Swanson in his last 4 2/3 since the deadline, where he's been in more high leverage opportunities, hasn't allowed a run. JoJo, I mentioned Romero. Kyle Leahy hasn't allowed a run in his last 6 2/3 innings. We saw him on Monday night throw 2 2/3 innings to close out the game after Ali Marmol pulled Miles Michaelis. So I think they have an idea of the direction that they want to move with Kyle Leahy as they continue to give him extended looks out of the bullpen. We know that his stuff plays more as a starter eventually. Having 6 pitches to work with, he definitely profiles as a starter eventually. Now, whether we see that or not in 25, that's a different conversation.
Sure.
But what the Cardinals have been able to get from this young bullpen, it doesn't get much better than this, Brandon. All of these guys, except for JoJo Romero, having less than 1 year of service time. That is absolutely insane that you've been able to get the quality of relief pitching that the Cardinals have while being so young. So that's been a huge first piece, Brandon, and we can definitely talk about other pieces. But when you talk about the main one, the bullpen has, you could argue, been even better. And like I said, it's been a small sample size. It's been 10 games or so since you traded away all these pieces. Long term, it may end up being bumpy at times. But in these 10 games, I think you've liked what you've had just as much as what the Cardinals traded away.
Ethan, do you use a yellow or a pink highlighter?
It depends on what for. The general go-to is yellow.
Okay.
But if I'm broadcasting, I have a trio of yellow, pink, and blue. And I depending on the topic, offense, defense, I
Sure.
will use
Sure.
different colors. But the go-to all-timer is always yellow, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. That I'm glad you
Why?
answered that. I'm well. First off, because I want to know. It's like when your parents ask you. It's because I said so, Ethan.
Got
Secondly,
it.
secondly, no, I'm playing. Secondly, is man, yellow highlighter is the only way to go. If you were to tell me a different color and it's like, man, I just use pink or blue all the time, I would have been pretty upset with you. I would have judged you. High level judgment. I think the comment section would have got you. Here's where I'm getting at. You pull out the yellow highlighter post deadline.
Mhm.
It's the young bullpen, which we already talked about, and then it's two names: Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker. Get out your highlighter and highlight those two names. Because I mean, let's just talk about Jordan Walker for a second. Post deadline, 786 OPS, 311 batting average. This is 79 plate appearances, by the way. 432 slug. Pretty decent. You've seen him more in the middle of the lineup, that 5-6 spot. Nolan Gorman, you got some stuff on him, I know, but what do you have to say about these guys? Because again, what we were saying at the deadline was, man, we really, if anything happens post deadline, we want to see these young guys take off. So looking at the highlighted names, Walker, Gorman, what specifically are you seeing from these guys? What happened? What happened?
Yeah, that's here's what I'll say about both of these guys. We know what it can be. We've seen windows of it. For Jordan Walker, the window was a large chunk of 2023, his rookie season. He had a very encouraging rookie season. OPS
Yeah.
over 800, 18 home runs. Felt like something to build on, and he
Yeah.
just hasn't been able to build on it, unfortunately. But you've seen bits and pieces of it where you look at and you say, okay, like I can see it. I see what it can be. And Jordan Walker has been able to a certain extent work through the struggles when it comes to plate discipline. He is doing a much better job of waiting out the pitches that he wants, and as a result, he's making better contact with pitches that
Yep.
he's getting a hold of because he's being more disciplined. Since July, let's see, this is since July 19th. Jordan Walker has a 329 batting average. That's over his last 70 at bats, 23 hits in there, a home run, 8 runs driven in, a slugging percentage of 457, an OPS of 830. So, it stretches back even farther than the trade deadline that
Yeah.
Jordan Walker has been seeing the ball better. He's striking out still at a decent chunk. He struck out 18 times in there. I'd like to see that continue to
But
dip.
that's the league, though. You know what I mean? That's a young guy in the league, I feel
It's the
like.
league, and I will take that trade-off when you're starting to see the power mix in and the
All right. Yeah.
ability to consistently get on base. Now, is Jordan Walker going to hit 330 career for the rest of the year? No, he's not. He's not. When you have a guy like that that's 8 feet tall, you need him to hit for power, right? When you have a guy the stature of Jordan Walker, whatever it's 6'6", 225, or whatever it may be,
Sure.
you need him to hit for power. So I want to continue to see a little more slug out of Jordan Walker, but he has 7 extra base hits since July 19th, 6 of them being doubles, and I'll take that. 457 slug is very respectable. I would like to see that plate discipline continue to grow, but I think what we've seen out of Jordan Walker here in this recent stretch has been super encouraging. Flipping over to Nolan Gorman, when you look at his numbers, silently since he started playing consistently again, has been actually hitting pretty well. We know about the approach adjustments that he made during the 2025 offseason, working with hitting coach Brant Brown, trying to improve that approach and lessen the strikeout totals. Well, he's done a better job of that overall when you look at the numbers. Nolan Gorman Since the 13th of July, a 280 batting average, a 779 OPS, a 400 slugging percentage, just one single home run in that time, but he's only struck out he has struck out 9 times in there, and this is only in 25 at bats. But take into consideration he spent a good chunk of that time. Hold on, I screwed that up. He was on the IL for a lot of that, so hold on.
All good.
Son of a gun. Let me go to. Dang it. I will go to July 1st, and we'll just go from there. Okay. Brandon, when you go back to the beginning of July, Nolan Gorman is swinging a better bat overall. A 245 batting average, but in there as well has a few home runs, a 780 OPS. The strikeouts are always going to be there. That's the kind of player that he is. But what you needed was for it to not be 35%, right? That's what you needed it to be, was not be worst in the league. And he has made those improvements this year to where his plate discipline has improved. It's not perfect. He's still going to strike out. But like you said, that's the modern league. Nolan Gorman has been one of the Cardinals' better power hitters in the past couple of months. It's been good ever since he got off the injured list on August 1st as well. Now, that's a small sample size. That's only 10 games or so. But I like what I'm seeing from both of these guys. You talk about the guys going into 2025 that you said, these are the two that you need to figure it out and take advantage of the runway the most. And Nolan Gorman, when he's played, I think has done a pretty good job of taking advantage of that opportunity. And Jordan Walker is finally to that point where he is. So you like what you're seeing from them right now, and you hope that it can continue, because I tell you what, playoffs this, in the mix that. What really matters for 2025 is figuring out what you have in these guys. And if the Cardinals could get these stretches to extend out and go through the remainder of the season, or through a large part of the remainder of the season, Brandon, I think that could be the biggest win that you could come up with, or one of the biggest wins in 2025.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm we're connected locally with St. Louis sports, hearing a lot of what's going on, a lot of the chatter, and the Cardinals are now being back in this wild card talks. I mean, now everybody's chiming in, right? You saw old Adam Wainwright being quoted on his X account about how, hey, they can make a run in late September. It can happen. I believe that this team can happen. They'll be playing important baseball come fall. I see that. I guess the numbers, you look at like in hockey, you're looking a lot at goal differential. That says a lot in the standings, honestly. Besides the Washington Capitals of a couple years ago, if a team's negative goal differential, but they're around 500, that comes to show late in the season. Baseball, not as much. The Cardinals still have a negative run differential, but they're in the wild card chase. Here's my point. My question to you is, I don't understand the people who are saying it's just a win if just these young guys get good stuff. Isn't it more of a win to make a wild card spot here? Isn't that a bigger win in your eyes? If not, why? Because to me, I mean, you're playing to win here, to kill any cliches. But for you, as you look into this thing, would you rather be playing for a wild card spot against the Cubs in the last series of the season? Or are you more excited about Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, and a young bullpen? How would you answer that, Ethan?
There is a world in which there can be both, Brandon. There is a world in which you can get Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker playing good quality baseball here down the stretch and contributing towards that point. I mean, the more guys you have that are taking advantage of the runway, the better position that you're in. I think the conversation more so leans towards, right, what is the best that could happen in 2025? Yes, a run would be great for these young guys to really see what winning is and get a taste of that, right? That is important. But I think when you look at that compared to these guys figuring it out, which one has more impact on the future? And I think that what you would argue is that these guys figuring it out at the plate, or some of the guys, right? So whether some of the guys in the bullpen or in the rotation, these young guys taking advantage of the opportunity and building confidence in what you have in them, I think that that is more important than solely making the playoffs. Now, if that happens, there is a world in which the playoffs are attached to that. But if it's not, I'm okay with it too, because it's not the main purpose. It's not the main goal of 2025. Now, I will say this. What I don't want to see is the team being solely managed like they're playing to win in 2025. Yes, the goal is to always win. But if it means that the runway and the opportunity for guys is getting severely sacrificed because you're trying to put together a run in 2025, I don't like it then. And I don't think that's going to happen. If the Cardinals get to the postseason, it's going to be in the way in which it's working right now. It's going to continue to be this sporadic. You're going to have different guys at corner infield positions every single night.
Right.
And you're going to have nights where Gorman's in there at third, where Sajasi's in there. It's going to mix. It's going to mix up. It's going to be a little bit chaotic as far as the lineup construction goes, because they understand the purpose of this season. Regardless, none of it matters unless you get consistent starting pitching. And that's why I say it's more so I want these young guys to figure it out and to be solid down the stretch, because then the playoffs are a plus, but the playoffs are only there if the starting pitching can be solid. And it's just been way too roller coaster, topsy-turvy in 2025 for me. So I don't know. It's not, in my opinion, necessarily a this or that. It's this with the potential of that being an add-on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give guys opportunities to prove themselves. You don't know what they are unless they play. It's that simple. If the young guys don't play, you don't know what they are. At the same time, I get the push of, man, let's make the postseason. Let's play to win baseball. I mean, if you were to ask Ali Marmol, I think he's going to coach to make the postseason. However, I also think there's pressure from the front office. I think there's pressure from the team itself, developing itself right now, that you got to give young guys a chance. Because if not, when are you going to do that? If not, and also they stuck their foot down and they said who they were at the deadline a little bit. And so you don't do what you do at the deadline if the only thing that you're going to think of is 2025. And so I get it. I'm always going to lean more towards, hey, I want to make the playoffs, and however that's going to happen, great. If that takes, a 38-year-old reliever out of the pen to get it done in a prime moment, then I don't care. I mean, ultimately we got to play to win. But I see your point. I think it doesn't help the fans at times because it can be frustrating, because it's like, man, what are we doing? But we can't complain about how the Cardinals don't develop players and then complain that we give young guys a chance in bigger moments.
Yeah, if it means sacrificing the potential to help yourself for the future, then that's where I get hesitant. Because what is the ceiling for this team? Could this team make a stretch run, and with their schedule, some weak spots on their schedule the remainder of August and early September? Yeah, they could. But, I mean, the odds are still pretty low at this point for the Cardinals to do that. So what are you willing to sacrifice to potentially put yourself in that position? Do you get any better by putting yourself in that position of now you're prohibiting guys from that runway, maybe when they're in lulls? Victor Scott is the best defensive center fielder, but he's been treacherous at the plate the last couple of years.
Sure.
Couple of months, excuse me. Is there a world in which there's a better option?
I love how I went along with it. I was like,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Years, months.
Is there an option, and I'm not saying I agree with this, I'm just asking the question, right? Could Ali Marmol say, I'm going to move things around to where we have a little bit of a stronger offense in the outfield? I don't think something like that would happen. That's not the way in which Ali Marmol has managed these last couple of seasons. But those kinds of things is where I begin to say, nope, I'm not willing to do that. And some fans might be willing to. I'm not. I think if the Cardinals want to make a playoff run, it's going to have to be in the format similar to what it looks like right now. And as of late, that's worked. So why stop?
Well, and when you're chasing a team like the Mets who keep tripping over their own foot, just as bad as I tripped over that sentence, you never know. You never know. And you know what? Every game the Mets lose, it makes me happier because Juan Soto loses another game, which just brings joy to my heart. But anyways, that's besides the point. That's a grudge that I may need to work out with the man upstairs. Anyways, Ethan, felt like that was good talking some Cardinals ball. Again, if you're looking at the rest of the season, you probably got to win around 25 of the last 42 to stay in contention somewhere in there. Can they do it? You look at the schedule on paper and you think, yes. Will they do it? That's a different question. We got to wait and see what happens. Who knows? Maybe episode 75, we have an exclamation point, not a question mark behind that title. Who knows? We got to go to break. We got to take a rest here. When we come back, we're going to be adding one more to this show. We're also going to look a little different. We're going to look a little different. For those not watching, you're missing out. I'm telling you, check us out on YouTube. You're listening. You're watching the Lou Sports Talk podcast on STL Sports Central. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Lou Sports Talk podcast on STL Sports Central. Brandon Gallegos, Ethan Hannaford, and the fourth member of the squad making his return to the Lou Sports Talk podcast and his inaugural appearance on STL Sports Central's YouTube page. He is TJ Williamson. TJ, we're excited to have you back. It's been a little bit. And he's going to be our football guy. That's what we decided on. Earlier in the episode, we hadn't talked to TJ yet about this. We said, correspondent, aficionado. We weren't sure what he was going to want to be called. He joins the video like this, just with his description saying football guy. So we're like, okay, perfect. And if you couldn't see, we do Brandon and I some wardrobe changes, repping our teams here. I am a Vikings guy, Brandon a Chiefs guy, and TJ, poor TJ, is a New Orleans Saints fan. So,
I chose bandwagon friends. What can I say?
TJ, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's TJ Tyler Jake Williamson. I used to be pretty consistent part of the podcast. Life's been getting busier with work and whatnot, but really excited to be back on the podcast. My pride and joy, my baby really, is being the commissioner of our fantasy football league, the Shake and Bake Fantasy Football League, hence me being the football guy. Not to mention, when they're doing baseball stuff, I'm still doing football stuff. So it's football season year round for me, Ethan.
Yeah, so basically what I'm hearing is, TJ grew up while Brandon and I are still living in La La Land.
Thinking the Cardinals are going to
Too soon.
They're football Cardinals too. They're football Cardinals too.
All right, well, let's go ahead. There's a lot to discuss, so let's go ahead and let's dive into things. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking you division by division through the National Football League and sharing our thoughts on what things could look like, how we think things will turn up, and some of the headlines within each of those divisions. So without further ado, let's get into it, boys. Shall we start with the AFC South, where I am extremely curious to see where our friend Brandon Gallegos goes with this one. Brandon, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, Ethan, you're a great host. However, you just took a very interesting turn by starting with the AFC South, world-renowned. Everyone wants to know what's happening in the.
I wanted to get the worst one out of the way.
Tuned in
NFC South would have been worse, my
Sports
friend.
Central to hear about the 3-14 Indianapolis Colts. That's what they've tuned in to hear about. Yeah, you look at the South, man. Here's the thing: if you've been listening to the Loose Sports Talk for years, I've been begging and pleading that the Jaguars would do something. They haven't, and so nothing really changes here for me. If we're gonna just walk the dog down the division here, the Houston Texans are the obvious favorites. I'm not gonna go upset. They're gonna win the division. Here's where the just the pigsty starts. I think the Jaguars do leapfrog the Colts and the Titans and finish second. Then I have the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson, this could be it for him. He already goes into preseason game number 1 and what, leaves stumbling? Is that correct? I forgot what the exact injury
what he dislocated his pinky.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't keep up with the injuries. Titans, man, I think they're heading the right direction. They're still years away. So for me, it's the Texans is the only team that heads to the playoffs, wins the division, but Jaguars, number 2.
TJ?
Yeah, I got to agree with Brandon. I don't think there should be any surprises here. D'Amico Ryan's established coach now. I think it's his 3rd season, 2 years in a row of going to the playoffs. How could he not go to the playoffs with CJ Stroud, a good defense, and honestly a functional organization somewhat? You add in, I think the Jaguars will actually be tied with the Texans at the end of the year. I think they'll both be 9-8. I just think that the Texans will have the upper leg. They'll get to the playoffs. I think there's a chance that this year for Trevor Lawrence buys him an extra little bit of time, maybe gets some monkeys off his back a little bit, not being in the top 10 picks of the draft this year. And then the Titans and the Colts belong somewhere in the bottom, with the Colts being a little bit more depressing. I think that Daniel Jones ends up winning the job probably week 1, even if Richardson was healthy. And it's sad because if he were younger and he were just a bench player and it was his rookie year, you could argue maybe use him as a gadget player or something. But Daniel Jones does a lot of the same stuff that Anthony Richardson does well, but he just makes less mistakes and he's on the field more. So you got to give it to the Texans for this one.
Boys, I'm gonna throw one out there. I do have the Texans winning this division, but I have the Jaguars making the playoffs at 9-8.
Oh,
let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I have them as the 6. I have them as the 6.
Oh, that's a weak AFC. What the heck?
So you look at they're going to be able to take advantage of a weak South, and half their wins are going to come from the South. If things turn out the way they do, I think there's a lot of hope in what Travis Hunter can be this year for them, playing on both sides of the ball. We'll see what that looks like. And then I have the Colts. It's a mess at quarterback right now. What can Daniel Jones be? And they have them in the 3 spot. And then I have the Titans finishing with the worst record in the NFL, 1-16 in 2025. There is my projections for the AFC South. TJ, why don't you go ahead and take us now through our next division, which will be, let's stick with the AFC. Let's go ahead and roll to the East.
AFC East. Yeah, I think this is a more promising division than people give it credit for. Let's start with the easy one, the Bills. As long as Josh Allen has a pulse and Sean McDermott is the coach, I don't see them losing a lot of ground in that division. So 11-6 for me for the Bills. I think they're my 3 seed. And then the Patriots narrowly missed the playoffs for me. They're 10-7.
Ooh.
Again, barely missed the playoffs. And then you got the Dolphins 6-11. I think Tua's time is starting to the pumpkin's about to appear. It's no longer going to be Cinderella story for Tua anymore. And then the Jets. I love Justin Fields. I hope he works out. I just don't know if this year is the year for him. So that's my lineup. All in all, when you have Josh Allen, you always have a chance to win. I love Drake May's promise. Mike Vrabel, probably the best coaching hire of this offseason. And you add in that they're a functional organization. They know what they're doing. And obviously all the drama with Tyreek Hill in the offseason, it's just a little too loud for me. I'm going to stay away from that. Give me the Bills to go to the playoffs and the rest of the teams to falter.
Bills are my lone team to make the playoffs in this division. I have the Dolphins finishing 8-9, the Patriots 7-10. I agree. Steps in the right direction in New England. I just wonder if they're still a year away. But overall, I look at this division, and it's not as bad as the AFC South, but it's still, in my opinion, it's still pretty dumpster fire at this point. Brandon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I just can't wait till Dustin Winter X7H roast you again in the comment section for that Jaguars Texans take. Dustin Winter, if you are out there, we'd love to hear from you again. We'd love to just nothing makes our heart happier than a nice challenge for old Ethan Hannaford. So please leave a comment below for how much you dislike that take. The AFC East, Buffalo Bills are going to dominate. They're going to run away with it. I have Justin Fields as Jets, Jets in the second spot above Miami. I think New England is going to have a false start this year, holistically, as a team. I do think they're heading the right direction. I do think people are a little early in the New England train. I still think they hang around the 3-4 win team.
Yeah.
And Ethan's muted.
Damn. Let me get this straight. You're obliterating me for picking the Jaguars.
Come on.
To squeeze in at 9-8.
Yep.
And you have Justin Fields and the New York Jets outperforming Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams' New York Jets. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct. I don't think any of them make the playoffs besides Buffalo, but I do think Justin Fields' Jets have a better record than Aaron Rodgers' Jets.
I have no words.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Ethan.
Yeah, you got me. You got me, Brandon. Let's keep moving on here. Let's move to the AFC North. Now we're starting to get into the big boys. This is going to be a really fun division this year. You got several headlines. I think when you look at this division, the Ravens are about as Super Bowl contender as it gets. Joe Burrow coming off of a career season, really solidifying himself as, in my opinion, top 3 quarterback in the league. You also have Aaron Rodgers in the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do things look like there? You got a crazy quarterback crapshoot in Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders. You got Deshaun Watson. He's going to take a little while to be good to go. And then Kenny Pickett, I think, is the other option there. So all kinds of options there. The AFC North, I think, is one of the most intriguing divisions, in my opinion. Brandon, why don't you go ahead and start us off with your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we can all agree Baltimore is probably going to go ahead and take this division. I have them as the 2 seed in the AFC, holistically behind Kansas City. I think Cincinnati and Cleveland make the postseason. I have them in the playoffs, and I have the Pittsburgh Steelers in dead last.
Whoa! Hold on.
I was like, did he not hear that?
Hold on.
Did he not hear that?
Did you say Cleveland?
Yeah, that's correct.
What is wrong with you?
Wait. Who's the quarterback?
The quarterback is Mr. Sanders. Mr. Sanders is the quarterback. I think Mr. Sanders will not play the entire season. I think it will be win by committee. However, we've seen before.
Yeah, that's a successful pattern to get to the playoffs.
Cleveland defensively could get this thing done. I think they sneak in as the 7.
You are insane.
Hang on. What I maybe they've known that for a while. However, listen to the teams that they're competing with for the 7th seed. It's not going to sound as shocking as you think. Miami, New York, the Jets. You have because my 5 and 6 are the Chargers and the Bengals. That's not that crazy of a take. So who they're battling with is going to be Pittsburgh, Miami, New York, Vegas, and Jacksonville for the 7th seed.
There's a big team that you are not mentioning.
I want to talk about the AFC West after this. Can
there's
we
a
make
big
that happen?
team you're not mentioning.
Cool.
Big team you're not mentioning here.
Sure.
But okay, all right, there you go. I'll go ahead and throw mine out, and then TJ, you can wrap on the North.
Sure.
I like the Ravens winning this division. As much as I love Joe Shiesty, you guys know the special place that he holds in my heart as my favorite non-Viking in the league. But the Ravens, I mean, like I said, it's Super Bowl or bust for them at this point. They're at the peak of Lamar Jackson's career, coming off of an MVP season. I have the Ravens going 14-3, and I have them. Do I have them as the 1 seed? I have them as the 1 seed in the AFC. I have them followed by the Bengals, who I do think do get into the playoffs this year with an 11-6 record. I don't think that things are going to be very pretty in Pittsburgh. I have the Steelers finishing 3rd in the division at 7-10, and then the Cleveland at 4-13 Too many questions at quarterback. Even with Shedeur looking decent against the Carolina Panthers in his first preseason game, I think it's too soon to figure out that whole thing going on there in Cleveland. So that is my AFC North. TJ.
It makes sense, Ethan, why you'd say that Lamar Jackson probably should have won an MVP last year. It was Josh Allen. They finally got it flipped. So just one. Yes. I wouldn't be a football guy if I didn't say something.
No. I mean? You're the football guy. It's what you do.
That's what you do. I think you guys hired me for this.
We hired you?
What? My 1 seed will be the Ravens, 12-5. I have them over the Kansas City Chiefs. I do have the Bengals making the playoffs. Honestly, I just don't know how you could put up the numbers that Joe Burrow put up last year, draft a defensive end like Shamar Stewart, and not have your defense at least make one more stop to give them at least a couple more wins, I have Mike Tomlin's winning streak of having a winning season continue into this year. Steelers narrowly missed the playoffs. They're 10-7. And then I have the Browns. They're going to be a feisty 6-11, but I think they win a lot of games, Brandon.
There you have it. There is the AFC North projections. That's going to be a fun division this year. And I think that last year we saw 2 divisions have 3 teams make the playoffs. It was the AFC West and the NFC North. The AFC North could be a candidate for that again this year as well. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Now let's go ahead and let's move to the final division in the AFC. I think it's also just as intriguing, maybe even more. It's the AFC West. I'll go ahead and start with this one to reverse order here. I like the Kansas City Chiefs winning this division again. I know that year by year, it feels like more people choose against the Chiefs as their core gets a little bit up there in age. Listen, until they prove me wrong, until someone in the AFC proves otherwise, I'm rolling with the Chiefs. I've learned my lesson far too many times. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. And until someone can knock them off the pedestal in the AFC, the Chiefs are going to be that team. So I have them going 13-4, winning the division, winning that division. I have the Broncos and Chargers both at 9-8, battling for the 7 seed. And then I have the Raiders finishing last in the division, separated from the rest of the field. I think that this will be this will be the playoff race. Last year it was the Broncos and the Bengals for that final spot, as well as the Dolphins. This year I think that it's going to come down to in division battle between the Broncos and the Chargers, and I think the Jaguars, even though I think they are a worse team than the Broncos and the Chargers, I think you look at that tough division, there's going to be potential for those teams to beat each other up a little bit more.
So you said you had the Broncos above the Chargers.
I have the Broncos above the Chargers, yes.
Narrowly at both at 9-8.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll go ahead and throw it down. I would agree a lot with what Ethan said. 2 or 3 days ago, I had the Chargers winning the division. And then Rashawn Slater went down.
Yeah.
And that changed everything for me. I think Harbaugh runs through the line. I don't think his team runs through the receiving core, which is why they can get away with having 2 receivers, really, Ladd McConkey and the new guy, Trey Harris. But Kansas City Chiefs should win the division. I have them winning at 12-5. I have the Broncos getting the 5 seed. They'll be 11-6. And then I still have the Chargers getting to the playoffs, 10-7. I also think they'll be the 7 seed. Guys, of my playoff teams, the 9-8 Texans are the worst. Everybody else is either 12-5, 11-6, and then you have the Chargers at 10-7. So
just go ahead and run. Well, Brandon, you go ahead and wrap up, and then we'll run through our AFC playoff picture real quick.
Yeah, I think every year I get a little bit of hate because there's a pick that's there's 2 picks that are out there, and I'm basically swapping the 2 here. I right now, here's where I stand. The Denver Broncos finished last in the AFC West. I think they're the team that underperforms this season, and I think Sean Payton's fired in the middle of the year.
Whoa!
That's my bold prediction for this year. I do not know where all of this Bronco love is coming from. Here's a team that battled hard for the postseason last year. Yes. Do I think Bo Nix as the quarterback of the future for them? Absolutely. Do I think their defense can make a few stops? Yes. But my point is, here's where I think they go wrong. I don't think they win in the AFC West this year. I don't think so. I think the Chargers take them. I think the Chiefs take them a couple games. And right there, I mean, if you lose 3 or 4, it's a tough battle to get in the postseason. So my big take for the entire season really is that the Broncos are the team that underperforms. There's that every year. The Colts were that a few years ago. There's that every year where, man, this team's going to really come out and show something. To me, it's the Broncos. Then it's the Raiders at 3, the 2 teams that make the playoffs out of the West. Chargers and the Chiefs. I do think the Chargers are coming. I've been saying it every year, even as a Chiefs fan. They're coming, but it's the Chargers and Chiefs. The Chargers are my 5 seed this year. I do think they steal a couple of big wins. I do still think they can get it done. That's my AFC West.
TJ, you're 1 through 7 in the AFC?
Yes. My 1 through 7. I've got the Ravens and the Chiefs at 12 and 5. 1-2 Ravens, Chiefs. Bills at 11 and 6. You've got the competitive but probably not good enough Texans at 9 and 8. The Broncos, I think, will probably make a little bit of noise in the playoffs, actually. So we'll see who's right between us and Brandon. But 11 and 6 for them, and the Bengals will be 11 and 6, and then I think the Chargers will be 10 and 7, just because of the Harbaugh effect. That's for me. For me, here I want to talk on Brandon as far as why the Broncos are getting some momentum. If you think back to having a rookie quarterback, first season of the game of the season, I think they lost to the Seahawks by like 10 points. I think Bo Nix almost ran for more yards than he threw, and I think he threw an interception or 2. So you just think about if there's a fully healthy Bo Nix going into this year, another system into Sean Payton's system, you can still run. They got a second-round running back. Their defense is really solid. And you also add in that another year of familiarity in the division for Sean Payton. I just think there are a lot of things to where lightning shouldn't strike twice with the Broncos having this good of a roster and not doing something with it, because they look like a class behind the Chiefs last year. And I don't think their roster says that they are. So either you're right, Sean Payton shouldn't be the coach anymore because it's a coaching issue, or the Broncos roster is fool's gold. And those would be the only reasons why it wouldn't work. A guy like Pat Surtain, I feel like he might even be in the 99 club this year for Madden. I'm not even sure. But I'll have to say that that's my logic behind the Broncos pick.
Yeah.
And I think defense travels on the road. I think they'll steal a couple of wins on the road.
Did you see that they listed on their official depth chart for the preseason? They put Tyler Beatty as their 4th string running back. 4th string. So that second round guy, it sounds like they're going to have to make him earn his opportunity, which I think is kind of interesting. But either way, good stuff from both of you. I'll wrap up here. I have the Ravens at the top, the Bills 2, Chiefs 3, Texans 4. And my 3 wildcard teams, the Bengals, the Jaguars, and the Broncos. Once again, I want to repeat, I don't think that the Jaguars are better than either of those 2 teams, the Chargers or the Broncos necessarily. I just think that playing in such a weak division, they're just set up so much better schedule-wise than either of those 2 teams. Any final thoughts on the AFC before we switch over to the other conference?
Brandon, I want to talk to you off camera about this Browns take and test you for some drugs.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy work. Brandon's on something tonight with
he's here for the clicks. Okay, let's face it. He's our clicks guy. He does the hot takes. He's going to get a clip tomorrow morning for the YouTube short. That's what he's here for.
Guys, what are we talking? We're talking about the 7th seed in the AFC. No matter who it is, they're playing Baltimore, Kansas City, and getting beat by 3 touchdowns. What are we talking about? For the
Chiefs, it'll probably be a field goal, but anyway.
Let me ask you this. TJ, you go ahead and you pick the division we start off with in the NFC.
I want to go NFC West.
All right, starting with a bang, the NFC West. You want to go ahead and start us off?
Sure. I want to state something. Right now, there's rumors about Matthew Stafford. If Stafford is healthy, Rams win the division 10-7. If they don't have Stafford healthy to start the year, I think he would end up coming back, or Jimmy G would be serviceable. I think they would end up sliding down to 9-8. I think the Cardinals would end up being second in that division. They make the playoffs too. They'll be 9-8, and I think that the Seahawks go 7-10. And actually, I'm sorry, I have that backwards. Rams 10-7, Cardinals 9-8, Niners 9-8, Seahawks 7-10. That's what I got. Niners have the weakest schedule in the NFL, but everything in the news is they have no receivers, and so it's hard for me to pick them to go to the playoffs when the Cardinals feel like they're heading in the right direction. But I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Brandon?
Yeah, I'm with TJ. No fireworks here. I think it's the Rams number one. I also have the Cardinals in a wild card spot. The Niners, who is Brock Purdy going to throw to? Also, which Brock Purdy are we going to see? Seattle, you had a lot of moving parts there. You had a lot of a circus going on, but how much of it's going to lead to an actual show? I don't think so. Dead last in the NFC West.
It's a good line.
Thanks, man.
He's full of those. That's what he brings. That's what he brings to the podcast.
Clicks.
So, TJ, you mentioned the Niners having the weakest schedule in the NFC. Obviously, we're still waiting to see when Brandon Ayuk's going to be back, what it looks like with Jawan Jennings. If they can keep Christian McCaffrey healthy, though, I imagine Isaac Guerrero is going to get involved a little bit more in the action as well. It depends a lot on which Brock Purdy we get. But I look at this schedule, and it's still a really strong defense. I like it. I like it. So I think the Niners are going to win this division. I think that they bounce back a little bit from last year. I mean, talk about just an injury-ridden team last year. I think Brock Purdy takes a step up. I like the Niners. Now let me say this though: if they didn't have the easiest schedule in the league, it's a different story. That is a huge reason as to why I'm picking them to win the division. There's a lot of questions right now with Matthew Stafford. Listen, it's never a good sign, in my opinion, when you have a quarterback as old as he is going into the season with wear and tear injury. And it just makes me wonder how much they're going to be able to rely on him. Where's Devontae Adams at this point in his career? Can he have a resurgence out there? I still like the Rams to finish number 2 in this division and make the playoffs. But I don't think they win the division. I have the Cardinals missing it. Close. They're on the way. They're on the right track, but I don't have them quite there this year. And I think that Sam Darnold's magic stayed in Minnesota. I think the Seattle Seahawks finished 6-11 and last in the division. But overall, I think this is going to be one of the closer divisions in the NFL this year.
Yeah, just to add some context to Ethan's take about weakest schedule in the NFL, the first 5 weeks for the San Francisco 49ers go as such. They play the Seahawks week 1. They play the Saints. They play the Cardinals. They play the Jaguars, depending on your take on the Jaguars. Then they play the Rams and the Buccaneers. For the rest of the season, I see 2 playoff teams. 2.
Yep.
For the rest of the season. So if they win 2 games in the first 5 games, there's a chance if they split even against all the non-playoff teams, they could still end up at 9 wins. Talking about Christian McCaffrey, I think with him missing a game or 2, and George Kittle even missing a game or 2, I still think they can get to 9-8.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about guys to throw it to. They have George Kittle still, for goodness sake.
They have George Kittle. He's in the middle of the defense though.
Old. Says the guy Kelce wearing a Travis Kelce jersey.
There's a difference between Mahomes and Purdy, though. We're not gonna sidestep that. For the defense, it is strong. It's top heavy. They don't have a lot of good backups. Brandon Ayuk, I believe, is supposed to come back week 6.
Yeah,
but his injury is known to being like holding on a little bit longer. So part of me thinks conservatively waiting until week 8 until he's actually back. Like he might be on the field, but he won't be back. And so if you think he can go 8 weeks and probably end up being like 3-5, and from that point forward just go on a run, be my guess. It's not for me though. Just a lot of stuff there. So good on you, Ethan, for having the cojones to take that take.
Let's go ahead and let's move to the NFC South. You could argue it is the weakest division in football, or I guess the most bottom heavy. And you see TJ repping his Drew Brees jersey. Sorry, big fella. Days. It is going to be a rough year for the Saints.
Not next year, baby.
Brandon, why don't you go ahead and throw out your rankings, your projections for the South?
Yeah, unfortunately for TJ, I do think in NOLA there's a lot more excitement about this rebuild because the smart football fans they know where they're headed. They know where they're headed, and so but for this year, I think they have a worse record than the Panthers. I think they're dead last in the NFC South. I have them as a struggling 3-win team. Carolina is going to be right up there as well. I think they are treading water. I do not see an improvement from this year. So I think there's a couple of bottom feeders in this division. At the top is where things get tricky. I went back and forth on this. The Falcons have broken my heart before when I've picked them, which is why I'm going to pick them again. And the Falcons are the NFC South champions over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh my God.
I think this division will. I mean, it's going to be a tale of two stories. You're going to have the two really pitiful teams that are going to be 2-3-win teams, probably both of them. Loud and proud, TJ. And then you have the two teams that are going to be fighting for the division. I think that they both can be playoff teams, but I'm going to I think the biggest question mark in this division is what does quarterback look like for the Falcons? What happens to Kirk Cousins? Is he the second string all year long? Is that wasted money on their bench? That is a lot of money that they're paying to a guy to be the second string. So that's going to be very interesting to see what that looks like this year. I have the Falcons winning this division as well. I think Michael Penix takes some continued steps in the right direction. I picked the Bucs maybe I didn't. I don't remember. I can't remember if I picked the Bucs or the Falcons. Either way, though, the Bucs, I think they surprised a lot of people because I think with the passing attack that Atlanta had going into last year, a lot of people were excited about what that was going to look like. Obviously, Kirk Cousins disappointed. I think Michael Penix is going to continue to take steps in the right direction and build from what he started at the end of 2024. So I like the Falcons winning this division. TJ?
Yeah, I'm going to say my picks in order, and you tell me who's at the top and who's at the bottom. Okay? Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Buccaneers.
Oh, it's the Bucs at the top. Yeah, it's the Bucs at the top.
No, it's definitely the Bucs for sure.
Totally.
Saints are going to be terrible. I have the Saints winning 3. I have the Panthers winning like 6. I think they'll be more feisty, but at this point, it's like we're trying to put lipstick on a pig named Bryce, and so I think it's just going to be a little tough for him. The Falcons will be 9-8. I have a pretty even keel NFC. Like I think 3 of the division winners for me have 11 wins. So I have the Buccaneers with 11 wins too. I kind of have them. I think I'm going to put them at the 1 seed. And
the
so
Buccaneers?
Yeah. Shaking back, baby. So here's my love. Hold on. Let me talk. Let me say something. Ethan's logic earlier about the Jaguars and about the Niners. Easy schedule. The teams you're versing aren't going to be very good. Versing, that's not even a word. Playing against aren't going to be very good. And the same exact logic goes for the Buccaneers. Are you telling me if the Panthers, let's say Michael Penix works. Okay, let's say he works. They still don't have a very good defense. At the very least, they have a bunch of unproven defensive players. You add in that the Saints are terrible. I'd argue they're probably going to let him walk touchdowns in with how much they want Arch Manning. And then you add in that the Panthers are terrible too. So for me, those easy wins make it to where at the very least their division record is very high. And if the division record is very high, you're typically going to jump people as far as tiebreakers are considered. So it's a 3-team race for me. I wouldn't be surprised if any of the 3 top division winners got the 1 seed, but for the sake of fun, I'm going to put Baker in there.
Whew, that sneeze hit me like a cornerback blitz on my blind side. Oh my gosh. That thing hit me. I promise I was listening, TJ, but holy cow. I just got Asante Samuel on that sneeze.
Audible your tight end and running back to block next time. You know what I'm saying?
Where are we headed now, Ethan? I lost track of where I am.
Let's go. So Buccaneers as the 1 seed. That's probably the hottest take so far in the NFC. With all due respect, it's not even like I could see a world where it happens. It's just so far, I think it's been relatively predictable. I don't know. Maybe some people would say the Niners winning the West is more surprising than that. I wouldn't. Let's go ahead and let's do the East. Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So NFC East, Eagles will win it. Commanders, I don't know. I think I see Jaden Daniels continuing his success, but I still don't think they're the same level of class as a team compared to the Eagles. So 10-7. I think the stat that I saw was in the regular season, Jaden Daniels won one game against a playoff team, and that one game was against the Kenny Pickett-led Eagles. You guys remember the play where Kenny Pickett was trying to throw it, and he landed on the ball basically because he tried to hold on to it. I got the Giants with a feisty 6-11. I think Russ gives them some form of competition for games. And the Cowboys, I could not be more excited to say that they will win 4 games this year.
Holy cow.
I do not believe in the Cowboys. I think they're going to lose Micah Parsons. At least I'm hoping they do. And Dak, who knows? And Jerry Jones is too loud for the media. I just don't see them make the playoffs at the very least, but I want him to get 4 wins.
I don't see him making the playoffs either. I think 4 wins might be a little bit low, but I see them right around that same territory of 8-9 probably, or of 500-ish ball. I have the Eagles winning this division as well. Commanders following them, 10-7. I also have them with that record. I think the Giants are still a couple steps away. We'll see how Jameis Winston or Jackson Dart hold up there in the East. But I think this is a story of 2 teams of interest, and the question is going to come down to what is Jaden Daniels in year 2, in my opinion. Brandon?
Yeah, I got Eagles winning the division. They're also my 2 seed. The Commanders are my 5 seed. They make the playoffs as well. I think I do know Jaden Daniels is struggle against playoff teams, like you said, TJ. I think that comes with the territory of being a young quarterback in the league. You got to figure out how to win those games. Dallas, I'm jumping off of the bandwagon finally. They will not make the playoffs. They will have an abysmal year, in my opinion. I wonder about Micah Parsons even to Washington, by the way. Anyways, keep that in your brain. Von Miller's there. Bobby Wagner's already there. A bunch of old men are there. I don't know. In the division, why not? I could see Jerry Jones doing it.
I couldn't.
I mean, if the Cowboys aren't going to be a playoff team, what do you care where he goes? The Giants, dead last, 3 wins.
And that leaves us with the NFC North. Brandon, why don't you go ahead and go back-to-back and share your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to be transparent with you guys. This is the toughest division for me to pick. It's not even close. The Lions are number 1, but where it lands at the rest of that, it's tough. So what I did was only the Lions make the playoffs out of the NFC North. That's my hot take for the NFC. I think they're going to split a lot of games. I think you're going to have a lot of teams hovering around 500. Sorry about your Vikings, Ethan. I don't know about what's going to happen there at QB yet. I don't trust it yet. The Bears, they're starting to get some weapons, but are they there yet? The Packers, to me, I have the Cardinals and the Bucks in the playoffs over them right now. That's just where I'm at. I know Josh Jacobs had a bounce back in Green Bay. He's revitalized his career there, but it's the Lions out of the North for me, and that's it.
I'll go ahead and go so TJ can wrap up with this one. I have the Lions as well. My only difference is, despite the coordinator losses, I still expect the Lions to roll. I mean, the pieces that they haven't changed. Amon-Ra St. Brown is still really good. They still have the best running back duo in the NFL. Jared Goff has been very solid. I think he's the one that has the potential to be affected the hardest by the coordinator, Ben Johnson going to Chicago. This defense is also extremely strong still. So I look at and they're healthy now in large part. I know that they just lost a piece, but they're still in large part super healthy. So I think the Lions are going to roll. I think that they are by far. I wouldn't say by far. I think they're the best team in the NFC. I still think they're the best team in the NFC. I have the Packers in the playoffs, but I have them at 9-8, so I don't have them as world beaters. And then I have the Vikings at 8-9. Might be a little bit generous. I think that J.J. McCarthy's second half of the season is probably going to look a lot better than the first half. Tough schedule that they have this year, and I think there's too many questions right now as far as what he could look like. I tell you what, the system is set up really well around him. So if he ends up exceeding expectations, I think the Vikings could be good and could be a playoff team. But I don't have them in. And then I have the Bears. I know people are excited about Ben Johnson. Not quite there yet. Still think there's a lot of question marks about Caleb Williams. I have them finishing last in the division at 5-12.
Yeah.
TJ, wrap it.
Yeah. So Lions 11-6, they'll win the division. Packers a close 10-7. They'll be, in my opinion, getting a little bit closer to that same level. I think the Lions are going to be 11-6. They're not the 1 seed for me. They're tied with the 1 seed. That helps though. But the coordinator loss of defensive and offensive, 2 offensive linemen are lost, but their defense comes back healthy. I just think there's going to be a little bit of maybe a trip at the beginning of the season, stops them from winning an extra game or two. The Vikings and the Bears will both be 8-9. The way that sorts itself out, I'd assume that the Vikings would be ahead of them. I trust in Kevin O'Connell. Put a cardboard box at quarterback. I think they're at least 7-10. And so that's the lineup for me. And then going in with my 7 that are going to the playoffs, I have the Bucs, Eagles, and Lions all at 11-6. I think the Bucs will end up barely squeaking out the 1 seed. The Rams will be 10-7 if Stafford's healthy. If not, the Cardinals will win the division. The Packers 10-7 at the 5 seed. The Commanders 10-7 at the 6 seed. The Cardinals or the Rams, if Stafford is injured at the beginning, would be 9-8. And so that's my NFC.
My NFC: 1, Detroit; 2, Philadelphia; 3, San Francisco; 4, Atlanta; 3 wildcard teams: Washington, LA, and Tampa Bay. I think that the NFC is way more predictable in large part than the AFC is. It feels like there's a lot more teams that are going to be hovering, fighting for the wild card spots in the AFC than in the NFC, in my opinion. I don't know how many other teams outside of the 7 that I named. Are we all agreeing on the same 7 getting into the playoffs in the NFC?
I didn't have the Niners.
You didn't have the Niners. Okay, that's the one difference. But I mean, 6 out of 7, pretty good.
Brandon didn't have the Packers.
And Brandon, okay, yeah. And Brandon didn't have the Packers. Okay, Brandon, you're at 1 through 7.
Yeah, quickly. Lions, Eagles, Rams, Falcons are my division winners, and 1 through 4. So I got Lions at number 1. And then Washington, Arizona, and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is my 7, TJ. So that's my NFC.
Boy, well, we have listed our 1 through 7s in both leagues, both conferences, and man, it's going to be a fun year. It's just a couple of weeks away. First game of the 2025 season, Thursday night football on September 4th. Cowboys at Eagles. I think
Can we stop putting the Cowboys on NBC?
They're America's team.
They are America's team.
That's true. The prime game, Brandon. Come on, you got the wrong network.
Gosh, darn it.
Well, very fun episode, guys. I appreciate you both joining for episode number 73. We're looking forward to, as Cardinals season concludes and we get more into the heart of the NFL and college football season, looking forward to having more NFL talk. Next week, TJ will be back for college football talk with Dylan as well. Plenty of headlines to be discussing there, so looking forward to that. Any final thoughts, Big Poppy, before we wrap?
Loved having you back, TJ. The great Tom Brady out of retirement. There's just a lot of similarities there. I'm not calling you 46 years old. No,
you are.
No, okay. You look great. I won't be back till, end of August, early September. So I'll miss and love you guys, but y'all kill it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Loose Sports Talk _. And be sure to like and subscribe to STL Sports Central. Follow them on all the social medias as well at STL Sports Central. Episode 73. That's a wrap.